Ladies and gentlemen, His Excellency Mr. Manoj Kumar Bharti, Ambassador of India to Indonesia, our First Lady Mrs. Anamika Bharti, Dr. Dadang Solehin, Deputy Governor of Culture and Tourism in Jakarta, DG Mr. Srihanto Seto, DG for Hindu Affairs, our special invitees for today from various organizations in Indonesia, and all our friends who are joining us online. Good evening, greetings and a warm welcome to all of you on the occasion of the 6th Ayurveda Day, which is being celebrated in India and all over the world since 2016 on Dhanvantri Divas. May I please request Mr. Manoj Kumar Bharti, His Excellency, to come and light the lamp, please. Thank you. Today we have gathered here to give you a brief introduction about Ayurveda and its benefits from some experts in the field. To begin the proceedings, I would like to invite Ambassador of India, His Excellency Mr. Manoj Kumar Bharti, to deliver his introductory and welcome remarks. Sir, the floor is yours.
Senior officials of ministries in Indonesia, Honorable Deputy Governor, my diplomatic colleagues, my fellow Indian citizens, members of the Indian diaspora, members of media, friends who have joined us through the social media, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon and Salamat Sore. It is an honor to welcome all of you to India House to celebrate the 6th Ayurveda Day. Ayurveda Day is observed every year on the day of Dhanvantri Jayanti, which falls on November 2 this year. Apart from Dhanvantri, a mythical deity in India, this is also an occasion to remember the creator of the original Ayurveda text, Charak Samhita, by Saint Charak more than 2,300 years ago. Ayurveda Day is celebrated to create awareness in today's generation and promote Ayurvedic principles of healing in society. Ayurveda is one of the most ancient and well-documented system of medicine. In modern terms, it has got a complete set of pharmacopoeia and is also recognized by the WHO. Its holistic approach, whether for healthy individuals or for ailing ones, remains unparalleled. Prevention of disease and promotion of health is the main aim of Ayurveda. The theme for this year's, that is 6th Ayurveda Day, is Ayurveda for Poshan, which means Ayurveda for good food, good way of eating, aimed at prevention of malnutrition through Ayurvedic ahar or food regime. We have a lot of literature on display here, and I would strongly recommend that you spend a few minutes to go through this literature, as well as pick up this material on Ayurveda on your way out. There are also certain things on display which I am sure the expert will be mentioning, as well as there's a kiosk of Himalaya, one of the leading companies in India, which is in the area of Ayurvedic medicines. Ayurveda is literally made of two Sanskrit words, Ayu, which means age or life, and Veda, which means knowledge, which together means knowledge of life or longevity. I would certainly like to note here that the word Ayu we find in Indonesia as well. When we say Dirghayu, Indonesia, it means long live Indonesia. That Ayu is the same Ayu which is in Ayurveda. According to Ayurveda, there are four basic goals of human life, namely Artha, which is economy, Dharma, which is religion, Kama, which is for creation of progeny, and Moksha, which is liberation from the cycle of life and death. To practice and fulfill these basic goals of life, one needs good health. And the whole study and science of achieving good health through nature is what Ayurveda is all about. What makes Ayurveda unique is that it defines human body to be made of three doshas, or there's no equivalent English word for dosha, but we can say sickening agents. They are Vata, which is wind. You know, many people have trouble with wind in your stomach. That is one of the dosha. Pitta, which is bile, and Kapha, which is cough. These three are present in the body in a fine balance. All ailments affect the body because of imbalance in these three doshas. These chemical imbalances may be regulated and corrected with the help of natural substances which need not be processed chemically. I am sure our expert, Ms. Shilpa, will get into some of the details of this method of detection of these anomalies and provide you some of the solutions. I have also requested her to field a few questions from audience after she finishes her statement. I also recommend each person to at least know about their body type from an Ayurvedic doctor or expert and get an idea of what to eat and what to avoid. By this, I would also like to suggest that during your next visit to India, you should make it a point to consult an Ayurvedic clinic or ashram just to learn about your body type. By the way, this is also my way of promoting medical tourism to India. Ayurveda teaches self-care mainly through day-to-day and seasonal life regimes, cleansing therapies, yoga and meditation. The main focus is to live in harmony with nature. Most of the medicines used in Ayurveda are the medicinal properties of plants of various nature. That is also the reason that this year's motto for this day is Ayurveda for Poshan or diet. Nature provides us with all relevant substances in the form of food items to correct our bodily imbalances. We only need to know it. There are still doubts about the effectiveness of Ayurveda, especially in the Western area. The only way to dispel these misconceptions is to actually use it, even along with the usual modern allopathic medicines, and feel the positive result of Ayurveda. I'd like to bring to your notice that a separate ministry has been formed in India under the name Ayush. Ministry of Ayush grants a large number of scholarships every year for undergraduate, postgraduate, and PhD courses related to yoga, Ayurveda, Unani, Siddha, and homeopathy in Indian universities, institutes, or colleges. This opportunity must be fully utilized. Please visit the Indian Embassy website and fill up the application form to avail of these wonderful scholarships. Indonesia itself has a form of naturopathy called Jamu. We may think of strengthening the two traditional systems of healthcare through mutual cooperation and exchange of good practices. Jamu requires a firmer grounding to develop its pharmacopoeia. I wish you all a happy Ayurveda Day, a new beginning to understand your own body, more meaningful visits to India, and a healthy life ahead. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for enlightening us with the background of Ayurveda and setting the stage for this event. Ladies and gentlemen, next I would like to invite Dr. Shilpa Dhoka, a renowned Ayurvedic doctor based in Jakarta. Dr. Shilpa has studied BAMS Ayurveda, that is Bachelor of Ayurvedic Medicine and Surgery from Mumbai University, and did her MD in Alternative Medicine from the Indian Board of Alternative Medicines Academy, Kolkata in 2017. We are grateful that she has taken out the time today to enlighten us about some key aspects of Ayurveda that we can incorporate into our daily lives. Dr. Shilpa, please.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening, all the His Excellencies present here, people from the ministry. Good evening. It's very overwhelming to see so many people interested in Ayurveda. I am very, very happy and thankful to the Indian Embassy to organize this Ayurvedic Day, because it's very important that the world comes to know about Ayurveda. Okay, the first thing I would like to ask you all is, what is Ayurveda and why today, like November 2nd or a Dhanteras celebrated as Ayurveda Day? This is actually 2 days before Deepavali, which is the famous Indian festival. Diwali is the festival of lights, where everybody prays to the Lord Lakshmi, the Lord of money. And today is Dhanteras. It is 2 days before Diwali, because the Lord wanted everybody to pray for the good health. Lord Dhanvantari, who is the father of medicine, was born today. And that's where he gave us all the knowledge about life, healthy living. And that is why today Dhanteras is celebrated as Ayurveda Day. So thank you very much, everybody, to remove time and come to listen to us. Okay, let's start now. According to Ayurveda is a holistic ancient medicine which believes in healing. Basically, what Ayurveda says is everything around you helps you to heal. So the main purpose here is, what is the motto of Ayurveda? Motto of Ayurveda is to keep the healthy people healthy and then treat the diseased people. So there is a very good Sanskrit proverb here, Sanskrit shlok, in which Ayurveda's motto is said, Swastasya swasthya rakshanam aturasya vikar prashmanam. That means the first thing is, make sure all the healthy remain healthy. Do whatsoever so that healthy remain healthy and there is no need of medications. But still, if somebody is unwell, then we go for the treatment of the people. So now we have to understand what is Ayurveda. According to Ayurveda, this universe is been made up of 5 different types of elements. That is earth, space, air, fire, and water. These 5 elements come together and make the 3 doshas, which His Excellency was talking about. So these three doshas are Vat, Pitta and Kapha. These three doshas come together and make our body. Now, without these three doshas, we will not exist. Normally, in modern botany, normal science, we hear about organs and bones make our body. But according to the Ayurveda, it's only the Vat, Pitta and Kapha which are responsible to make our body. The Vat is responsible for our structure and the movements when we walk around and whatever is moving in our body. Pitta is responsible for the body metabolism. We feel hungry, that is all because of the Pitta. The Kapha in our body is responsible to make the structures. The organs that are in our body is all because of the Kapha. Also the joint movements. When we move the joints which make it easy for us to move is because of Kapha. These are not the same things as when we fall sick and when we talk about I have got cough or I have got pitta, I have got acidity. These are not. These are the pure part, and each person is born with this. We all have all the three doshas, and we are born with a specific proportion. Each of us have a personalized ratio, and that is healthy for us. So our main job is to keep this balance in proportion so that we can stay healthy. Now the question is, how do we keep it in proportion? We have to, because even the twins, they will have their own personalized proportion. They will not have the same balance of the same ratio of the three doshas. How do we keep it in proportion? So Ayurveda has proposed three main pillars. Out of that, food is one of the most important. So today we are going to take a journey about food. What does Ayurveda meal talk about? Ayurveda meal is a specific food which is designed as per your doshas. It is very important that we understand what our doshas are. Once we know our doshas, then it becomes very easy to pick up the food. Because if we do not follow the doshas and we just pick up any random food, there will be again an imbalance of doshas. And when there is an imbalance of doshas, there is toxins are produced which are called Am, and they produce diseases where we hear the lifestyle diseases like diabetes, thyroid disorders, or autoimmune diseases, rheumatoid arthritis. These are all caused these are called lifestyle disorders, but in Ayurveda they are caused because of the toxins where we do not follow the dosha regime. It's very, very important to follow the dosha regime. Before we go to the dosha regime, let's talk about how many meals should we eat. Ayurveda strictly recommends that we should not eat more than 3 meals a day. Breakfast, lunch and dinner. No snacking in between. It is very, very clear. Why? Because snacking diminishes the fire. And if the fire is diminished, the food is not digested. And once the food is not digested, it is accumulated and the ama is produced and the diseases come in picture. Now when we say 3 meals a day, which meal should be the heaviest meal, the favorite meal? It should be the lunch, because that is the time where our digestive enzymes are really, really at their peak. You eat anything between 10 to 2, it gets digested very fast. But also make sure that your breakfast and dinner are lighter meals. At the same time, make sure to eat 3 hours before your sleeping time. Anything eaten later than that, if the time gap, you eat your dinner and you fall asleep, then the digestion doesn't happen, and again the vicious cycle starts there. So it's very, very important that we follow this regime. Then comes is, what about the cooked food and the uncooked food? What food we should eat, what food should we not eat? So the first thing is, Ayurveda talks about cooked food. We do not talk about, Ayurveda doesn't want people to eat raw food, because raw food is difficult to digest. But if we are eating raw food, then it should be mixed with spices or dressings to make it easily digestible. So therefore, just cutting and raw and eating something is not good for our health. Mix it with some spices. We will talk about the spices later on. It's very important to make sure that the spices are added so that it becomes easier to digest. So not only the timing of the food, but also season. Which season what is to be eaten? Suppose it's the winter time. In the winter time, the Vata dosha is at its peak. That means our body needs warm food. So we should eat foods which are more in fat. Something like nuts are very much recommended in the winter season. But in the summer season, our appetite is low. So that is why light khichdi, the famous Indian khichdi, is recommended because it's very easy to digest. Also, many people love to take just one meal during the summer so that the digestion becomes easier. Ayurveda also recommends that every meal in our daily diet should have 6 different flavors, all the 6 tastes, which is sweet, sour, salt, bitter, pungent, and astringent. Make sure all these 6 tastes are included in your food, and then you don't have to keep account of proteins, carbs, minerals, and traces elements, and all those things. You don't have to, because these tastes make sure all the vitamins, all the proteins, all the carbohydrates come inside it. So it's always good to start with the sweet. Always start your meal with the sweet and end your meal with the astringent taste. So that is why if you visited an Indian restaurant, at the end they will always serve you fenugreek, they will serve you with fennel seeds or some betel nut leaves. That is exactly the astringent taste. It helps, it aids digestion. So whatever heavy food you have eaten, it helps in digesting. That is why it's not like, it's not like an Indian tradition, or I would rather say Indian traditions are made according to Ayurveda. So even though they are famous as Indian traditions, but they are mainly Ayurvedic traditions to make sure you can digest your food properly. In India, normally the sweets, the desserts are served before, because desserts are heavy to digest. So it's always good to eat the desserts earlier. They can be digested, and then you won't even gain weight, because we are all very conscious with our weight. So fill your tummy with the desserts, and then eat a little bit of the carbs or whatever, so that you don't gain weight, and at the same time it is digested. So that is why include all the six flavors in your food, which can be, just put a pinch of salt, squeeze a drop of lemon, or just take a slice of pepper, anything. As far as you add the 6 flavors in your taste, it's in your dish, is very important. At the same time, Ayurveda also focuses on the combination of food. This is really very important, because nowadays this has become very difficult. People hardly want to follow it. Like Ayurveda says that milk cannot be combined with any other food. It does not go well with any other food. Milkshakes, smoothies are strictly prohibited in Ayurveda. I myself have seen so many cases of skin disorders, eczema, psoriasis, because of intake of milkshakes, fruit shakes. Like, it's not at all recommended. So milk should be taken on its own, fruits should be taken on its own. If there is something where it is needed to cook, a small amount, small quantity is allowed, but not a full-fledged every day. It becomes a routine that every day you're taking this. Like, I see many people will have 365 days they are ready to eat the peanut butter sandwich every day. It is not good. Similarly, taking milkshakes every day is not good. Okay, once in a way, holidays, cheat days are always there, but not always. Similarly, rice goes with every food that you want to eat. Mix rice with everything, it is acceptable. Similarly, warm water on honey is not acceptable. It's a trend. Everybody wants to avoid sugar now and put honey in their teas, in whatever they're eating, drinking. But it is not good. Honey, when it is heated, it becomes poison. So there are many, many diseases that are coming up now, which we were not aware in the olden days. Suddenly we start saying, doctor, but I don't even take sugar. I am not even taking ghee. I'm not even taking butter. But why? Even like cheese and the nightshades are not allowed. Similarly, fish and milk is again prohibited. So it's very, very important that we understand what is the combination that is good for our health. Otherwise, we are thinking that we are doing very good for our body, but unknowingly, we are harming our body. Now, there is also another thing that I have seen in most of the people, like many of the people who travel back home. If it is winters in your country and there is some food available there, we buy and we bring it here, and we'll end up eating it here because it's there. Everybody back home is eating it there. Like, I have seen many people getting cheeses from home or some sesame desserts from home, but it's not winter here, remember that. It's not winter here. Your Vata is not up. You don't need those heavy food. You need to eat food according to the weather in the country where you're staying. It's very important to follow the weather, the system. It's okay to enjoy your meals from your own country or whatever is your taste, but it cannot become your daily meal because it's going to be difficult. Similarly, now what about eating? What food is good? Ayurveda recommends whole food and the fresh food, because the fresh food that we pluck from the garden and we eat is rich of prana. And prana produces ojas in our body, which helps rejuvenation. The minute a fruit is plucked from the farm, the prana starts diminishing slowly. So imagine the fruit, the vegetable that is plucked from the garden, it goes to the factory and then goes to the shopkeeper and then we buy it. So the harvest time, the delay, the point when it is plucked and the point when it gets to our mouth, the more delay we do, sometimes we are getting zero nutrients from it. So the best is to eat the fresh fruits, which is, so you have your own organic garden, go and pluck and eat it. Of course, it's very difficult, but I would suggest every community have their own garden, and it helps. Because see, it's better than popping tablets and then getting into trouble, right? So another thing that I want to say is, Ayurveda recommends not to eat the same food every day. You have to change the food, because that is where intolerance of food comes up. Like nowadays, gluten intolerance is very common. Dairy intolerance is very common. Let's talk about gluten intolerance. In Ayurveda, we talk about in the winter days when our body needs very warm food or hot food, it's very important that we use something called bajri or we use something called jawar. These are different types of millets. And in the summers, when we need soothing foods or cooling foods, it's better to take something like jawari or samak. So that way we can break the wheat, using the wheat every day, because we'll end up eating breads, cakes, pastries, everything is made up of wheat. Nowadays, the wheat has been used, we have been using it for 365 days. When you eat something for 365 days, your intestines will also revolt. The microbiome will also get disturbed. So it's very important that you give break to the food, have variety in your food. Your plate should be colorful. The more the colors in your plate, that means it has all the different taste in your plate, and that is going to help you to stay healthy. Because Ayurveda focuses on your full health, your basic health, and on your mind. It also focuses on your mental health. Ayurveda doesn't separate your body and your mind. It always wants you to be healthy fully, properly. It's an holistic approach. So now let's go and see. I have also brought some herbs here to make it easier for you all to understand what can be used in your daily life. Many of the things are available in your kitchen and your garden. Hello. So let's talk about this. This is the neem. These are the neem leaves. These are very good for blood purification. This is very easily available outside, like in the garden, everywhere it's available. It's very good for skin purification. It's very good for the liver. And it also helps to remove like insects, worms, you know, if there are worms in the stomach for the kids and all, or if there are wounds to be healed, this is very good. If you want your skin to glow, you just grind this and put a paste on your skin and you start glowing. So it is a very good blood detoxification work. Now, aloe vera is very, very common. Aloe vera is one of the soothing drugs. It's very cooling. Anybody who's suffering from acidity should try drinking this every day. It helps to reduce the acidity, improves your digestion. It also helps to remove the phlegm. So during COVID season, many of my patients have been using this to reduce the cough, cold, and remove all the phlegm from the chest, and it has really done wonders. This is giloy. This has been famous. It has been like, you know, the whole world started using this. This has got antiviral qualities. It is immunity booster. This, you can make tea out of it, you can get tablets. We also have the, so I also have the dry cut woods, you can make tea out of this. We also have tablets. These can be drunk every day. They are also like tonic. They help you increase your immunity, improves your digestion, and it does wonders. It's an antiviral drug. Now these are moringa leaves. Moringa leaves are very helpful for hypertension patients. Somebody whose blood pressure is high, and even if you are on medications where it's troubling, you know, because of stress sometimes or because of some reason. So just make a drink or take 1 teaspoon of the, you can dry this, make a powder, keep it in the fridge, keep it in your, it helps immediately. 2 days ago, one of my friend came to me, my blood pressure is very high. I just gave her this powder and she was fine. So I'm only talking about things which I have experienced, so you can just take it, you know. Ginger is very easily available everywhere. Using ginger tea improves digestion, reduces like anxiety, stress, it helps a lot. So ginger tea is recommended. Ginger is again a wonder food. You don't have to worry for your doshas. All the 3 types of doshas can use the ginger. Ginger tea, you can use it in your food. You can use it in any way. You can use the ginger powder, fresh ginger also. Turmeric, I don't think turmeric needs any explanation. It's an antiseptic, it's an anti-inflammatory. Turmeric, you know, Indian curries are famous because they are yellow and they have turmeric. Why turmeric is added to the Indian food? It's added because our body cells are dying every minute and they need to be multiplied, they need to be healed. So this antiseptic is there in the daily meal where Ayurveda prescribes everybody to eat it daily so that healing happens every minute. Even though the cells are dying, but the new cells are getting ready to fight. So this should be the part of your meal every day. This is tulsi, this is holy basil. This is similar to the western basil, but different, like brother and sister of the western basil. This holy basil is again antiviral. It again does wonders. So when the giloy plant which I spoke about, when giloy and tulsi plant is combined together, you make tea out of this, or you get the tablets, you get essence out of this, you get the concentrated part. It helps. It's a very wonderful antiviral. At the same time, it also removes the cholesterol. So I would recommend people to use this. If anybody has cholesterol deposits, problems, then please start using tulsi tea. It's very, very good. So there is another thing called amla. It's called gooseberry in English. This is the wet amla, and we have got the dry amla here. Y'all can have a look later. Amla is again an antioxidant. It helps to rejuvenate. People who eat this, their lungs can, you know, people who have been smoking all over the life and their lungs have had problems, take amla every day. In 3 months, the X-ray picture, the CT scan changes. I can vouch on that. I have seen patients with that. Ashwagandha. Ashwagandha is a tonic. Like everybody I hear is taking multivitamins, vitamin B, vitamin C, calcium. You just take 1 teaspoon of ashwagandha and you're done for the day. You take it all throughout your life. You don't have to take any other vitamins, guaranteed. You will be healthy, wealthy, no wrinkles, nothing. Similarly, Brahmi. Brahmi is anti-stress, anti-anxiety. You can take it every day because we all know this modern world is filled with anxiety and stress. Every minute there is some anxiety, there is some stress. Start popping in Brahmi. If you can get Brahmi tea, Brahmi leaves, again it is very, very helpful. Otherwise, just buy Brahmi tablets and start eating it. You will see a big difference. Ashwagandha and Brahmi taken together also help you to sleep very well. They are, like, I have tried and tested 100%, they give very good results. Here I have the spice box, famous Indian spice box. This is used in Indian cooking. So this has coriander. Like, why I have brought this to make you understand why Indian food is a, basically I would like to say Indian meal, Indian diet is basically following the Ayurvedic principles. Here where we talk about coriander, coriander is soothing. So if there is any acidity or if your enzymes are very high, then it helps to digest it. There is cumin seeds again, which aids in digestion. There is methi seeds, which is called phenogenic seeds. So if there is any bloating, it helps to reduce it. There is chili, always. Chili is high in vitamin C and it stimulates the appetite. There is mustard seeds, which is high in calcium, which is high in other minerals. So it helps to, it gives the balance. As I said, that Indian meal gives you everything, proteins, carbs, vitamins, minerals, and all the other traces, whatever is needed, traces of elements. Turmeric, which I've already explained, is here. And there is also fennel seeds, which I said should be used at the end of your meal. Should be used at the end of the meal so that whatever you have eaten is digested. And then here we have all the millets that I was talking about. Corn and bajra is the winter millet. Then jowari and the little millet are the summer millets. So these are the millets you can replace instead of wheat. So these millets really help so that, you know, if anybody is having gluten intolerance, you can replace with these and you will find a big difference, and after some time you can go back to your gluten. Let me just come back here, and I would like to, sorry, I should have kept. Okay, so as we come to the end of this talk, I would like to just tell, suppose if we take a scale from 1 to 10, where 1 is empty stomach and 10 is full stomach, I would recommend you all to start eating at 2 and stop eating at 7. Why? If you wait for the level to reach to 1, you will be really very, very hungry. And when you're very, very hungry, number one, there are symptoms like acidity, nausea, headache, which comes up, which is difficult. Then you have to sort that out. Secondly, when you are very hungry, you'll end up eating whatever comes in front of you. You're not mindful of what you're eating. On the other side, if something very yummy is in front of you, you cannot stop at like level 7 where you're full. You're just full. There is space, but there is no space. Like if you keep on eating more, then there's no space for digestion. When you eat a lot of energy is used to digest it, and then lots of ions are produced, and these ions are going to speeden up your aging. So even if you are 50 years old today, your body will start becoming 60 and 70, and then you will start getting the old age ailments, which you don't want at this point. That's why eating in proper quantity, eating mindfully, eating slowly, biting, chewing properly is very, very important. Make sure do not multitask while eating, because when you're having your meal, that is the time where you're bonding with the energy, food energy and your body energy there's a bonding happening at that time, and that's where it will benefit. But if you're just focusing on something else, the bond doesn't happen, and you do not get all the benefits that you're supposed to get from the food. So I would like to end my talk by just saying that make sure you eat mindfully, healthily, and just eat when you're hungry, and eat enough, not overeat, do not eat less. Thank you very much. Okay, so anybody for questions?
Hi, Shilpa. Can you hear me?
Yes. Yeah.
Thanks, that's very informative. I would like to ask you more about how to take honey, the best way to use honey in your food. You said not to take it in warm water
Yeah.
or teas. Okay, so which is the best way?
So honey can be taken at room temperature. It should not be mixed with warm water. So you want to use honey, or you want to use honey to replace sugar?
replace sugar.
So it's difficult, because if you're using sugar in warm drinks and you're thinking to replace honey with, it's not possible.
Cold drinks?
Cold drinks is fine, no problem. In hot drinks, it's difficult, but not in cold drinks. It's fine. You can surely take it because once honey mixes with warm water, with hot water, it becomes toxic.
Thanks, Shilpa. Nice talk. Just wanted to know, does Ayurveda talk about non-vegetarian food?
So, yeah. Please continue. You want to tell something?
No, just curious about what does Ayurveda say about non-veg food?
So usually Ayurveda does not recommend about non-veg food. Non-veg food is said to be very heavy and very warm. It is only recommended in disabled patients where there is a lot of nourishment required. So that is why, but it is also saying that if you want to eat it, you eat it during the lunch time, not during the dinner time, not during the breakfast time. So eat it during the lunch time so it can be digested. So basic reason behind it, it's very, very warm and very heavy. So if eaten in all the 3 meals, it hurts the microbiome, it hurts your gut. The digestive system gets disturbed. So you don't find the problems in the day-to-day life, but slowly, later on in your life, like later years of the life, the intestine gets disturbed, you eat anything and you have to run to the toilet, it cannot take it. So that is where it harms. We don't realize it in the present world. We say that, oh, but I eat it every day, 3 times a meal and I can digest it. Yes, your intestines are good and they can digest it, but slowly the layer is it's depleting and it troubles later.
Okay, my question is related to my profession. Since I'm a diabetes specialist nutritionist, we are taught that first we should have proteins and fiber and only then we can have sugars so that the diabetic's blood sugar does not rise. And it has been proved with my clients. But as you said, we should start a meal with sweet. How does that happen?
So I totally agree with you, Geeta. But see, whatever I have spoken today is for the normal healthy person. This is as His Ambassador His Excellency had just said that make sure you find out your doshas. So it's very important, first of all, know your doshas. And if there is any ailments, then there are different protocols to be followed. The protocols that we discussed today is for healthy people who have no ailments and we want to remain healthy. Once if there is any ailment diagnosed, then the story changes, the diagnosis changes, the treatment changes, the food, everything changes.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Who is a totally healthy person is a mystery to me. Everybody is having some problem or the other.
So that is what Ayurveda says. See, we all are born with as I said, a ratio of the doshas. So with those doshas, there will be problems. But if you manage the food, like if somebody has acidity and you are drinking a lot of teas, then you make sure you drink peppermint tea, you drink coriander tea or rose tea, the acidity is taken care. But if you land up drinking green tea, the acidity is going to increase. Similarly, if anybody has joint problems, then you have to take things accordingly. You have to use coconut oil to make sure your ligaments are nourished. So I think, but there are many people have issues, but there are people at 95 also I can see them walking healthily.
Okay, one more question. I missed a part of your speech. What do you recommend here? All of us are living here in Indonesia. So what are the local things that you recommend that we might not know? I mean, I don't know at least.
So I have brought few of the local things which are here, and I believe that I do not believe in carrying things back from home. I believe we should eat things what are available here because, whatever we need or whatever, if there is a deficiency of something in something, then it is compensated by something else. So that is why it's very important that we eat things locally. We can treat ourselves with our homeland food, but eat locally. So here there is everything. You talk about ginger. There are 5 different types of ginger we get here. There is turmeric is there, moringa leaves are there. Even the giloy, which is famous in India, is available here. Even Brahmi is available here. So most of the things that we talk about India, I would say 60 to 70% things are available here and we can use it. Local market has everything. We don't need to depend on India. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Shilpa Dhoka. Ladies and gentlemen, please give another warm round of applause for Dr. Shilpa Dhoka. Listening to the Vedic chants and hymns is also an integral part of a wholesome approach to a balanced state of body and mind. In tune with this approach, we now have a chanting of Shanti Mantra, Vedic hymns for peace, by Mr. Vignesh Mahato, an IT professional and enterprise business head from Tech Mahindra. Mr. Vignesh.
Present some of the Shanti mantras this evening on the occasion of Ayurveda Day. Shanti mantras are basically peace mantras. These mantras are chanted for peace and harmony in the society. This can be chanted by anybody in the society who needs mental peace, calmness, and today with the current pandemic situation and the tension that people go through these days, it's very important to have a calm mind, a happy mind, to make very important decisions in life. So some of the Shanti mantras are specially designed for certain purpose that we follow in our day-to-day life. I'll start with the first Shanti mantra, which is for the education system or the knowledge system. This Shanti mantra is mainly for a relation between the teacher and the student. I'll recite this mantra and then tell you the meaning of this mantra. So I'll start with the recitation. The meaning of this Shanti mantra, it is a prayer done by the teachers and the students so that they have a great bond between them during the process of learning, during the process of imparting knowledge. They have a great relation amongst each other. It also means that they enjoy the process, they relish the journey of learning good things from their gurus. It means to have a deep concentration during the journey of learning. It is requesting the Almighty to bless you with brilliance, but at the same time, make sure that it does not give rise to hostility. Om, peace, peace, peace. The second Shanti mantra that I'll be reciting this evening is for the well-being of the society, something that we all need considering the current pandemic situation. I think this becomes very important for all of us. I'll start with the recitation and follow it up with the meaning of it. Om Sarvesham Swastir Bhavatu Sarvesham Shantir Bhavatu Sarvesham Purnam Bhavatu Sarvesham Mangalam Bhavatu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. The meaning of this Shanti mantra is that we pray that our society has well-being, it should be prosperous, it should be peaceful, and it should have the opportunities to celebrate with one another, and it should be auspicious. Om, peace, peace, peace. The third and last Shanti mantra which I would like to cover today is for the purification of self. I'll start with the recitation and follow it up with the meaning of it. Om Asato Ma Sadgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritangamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. The meaning of this Shanti mantra is that we are praying to the Lord that He helps us to take us from the stage of ignorance to the stage of truth. We request the God to take us from the stage of darkness to the path of enlightenment. We request to the Almighty to take us from the state of mortality to the state of immortality, which could be achieved through self-realization. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Well, you all must have noticed that, during all these three Shanti mantras, towards the end, every Shanti mantra had Om Shanti recited thrice, I'm sorry. It was recited thrice. Why is it recited thrice? What is the purpose of reciting the word Shanti thrice? In the literal meaning, it could also mean to greet Miss Shanti Sheshadri ma'am sitting here. Hello, ma'am. Jokes apart. The reason for chanting this Shanti mantra and ending it with Om Shanti thrice is because there are three reasons for anguish, and we wish peace against these situations. The first one being Adi Daivika. Adi Daivika is the divine forces, which could be calamities. It could be like earthquake, floods, volcanic eruptions, and we request the Almighty to protect us from such situations. The second one is Adi Bhautika. Adi Bhautika is the instigation of physical and mental problems that we incur in our day-to-day lives. And the third Shanti is for Adhyatmika. Adhyatmika is the misery that is created in our minds due to our fluctuation of emotions, due to the pressure that we regularly deal with these days, due to the tension that we have, and due to the behavioral changes in our day-to-day life. So this Shanti mantra helps us attain mental peace and gain the confidence and the calmness to deal with our daily problems and situations in a more methodical manner, in a more more actively present manner, where our brain is focusing on the problems and not the external forces that could influence the decision making. So that's my time for the day. Thanks a lot, everyone. I hope I could add some value to your lives through these Shanti mantras. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Thank you. Om Shanti.
Thank you very much, Mr. Vignesh. That was indeed very soothing. Local culture and traditional dances are an interesting part of Indian traditions. Folk dances portray harmony between mankind and nature. I now invite Ms. Purbi Mahapatra to perform a folk dance from the state of West Bengal. Ms. Purbi is an acclaimed Bharatnatyam and folk dancer. She has been an empaneled artist of the Indian Council for Cultural Relations and has performed in several countries. Mrs. Purbi? we have a big round of applause for that. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sure you would like an encore of such a fine performance. And so, as a culmination of this cultural performance, we now have Ms. Purbi Mahapatra, joined by Ms. Madhusmita Tiwari, who will together showcase the popular and joyous Bihu dance from the state of Assam, also called the Gateway of Northeast India.
ফাগুনের মোহনায় মন মাতানো মহুয়ায় রঙ্গিনী বিহুর নেশা কোন আকাশে নিয়ে যায় ফাগুনের মোহনায় মন মাতানো মহুয়ায় রঙ্গিনী বিহুর নেশা কোন আকাশে নিয়ে যায় ফাগুনের মোহনায় চেনা দেশের তরে তোর সাথে ইতে পান্তরে মোর মনের প্রজাপতি নাচি নাচি ঘুরি ঘুরি উড়ি উড়ি উড়ে যায় মন হারানোর ঠিকানায় ফাগুনের মোহনায় মন মাতানো মহুয়ায় রঙ্গিনী বিহুর নেশা কোন আকাশে নিয়ে যায় ফাগুনের মোহনায় সুরের অন্তরে ঝিরঝিরি ঝরনা ধারায় নতুন রং ঝরে প্রেম রাঙা মোর কবিতা সুরের অন্তরে ঝিরঝিরি ঝরনা ধারায় নতুন রং ঝরে সবুজে সবুজে হৃদয় কেমন করে সবুজে সবুজে হৃদয় কেমন করে ও মোর দিন উড়িয়া যায় রে দিন উড়িয়া যায় অন্যের তোর ভাবনা গুনগুনিয়ে যায় রে গুনগুনিয়ে যায় ও মোর দিন উড়িয়া যায় রে দিন উড়িয়া যায় অন্যের তোর ভাবনা গুনগুনিয়ে যায় রে গুনগুনিয়ে যায় তোর স্বপনের ভ্রমরি মোর প্রেমেরও প্রহরী তোর স্বপনের ভ্রমরি মোর প্রেমেরও প্রহরী হৃদয়ের বাগিচায় নাচি নাচি ঘুরি ঘুরি উড়ি উড়ি উড়ে যায় মন হারানোর ঠিকানায় আগুনের মোহনায় মন মাতানো মহুয়ায় রঙ্গিনী বিহুর নেশা কোন আকাশে নিয়ে যায় আগুনের মোহনায় আগুনের মোহনায় মন মাতানো মহুয়ায় রঙ্গিনী বিহুর নেশা কোন আকাশে নিয়ে যায় আগুনের মোহনায় আগুনের মোহনায় আগুনের মোহনায়
Thank you very much, ladies. Mrs. Purbi Mahapatra and Mrs. Madhusmita Tiwari. Ladies and gentlemen, now that we have come to the end of our celebration of the 6th National Ayurveda Day, we hope you're able to benefit from this introduction to Ayurveda by incorporating some aspects of it in your daily life. We have placed complimentary copies of 2 books at the counters behind you. The first is Traditional Food Recipes from Ayush System of Medicine, published by Ministry of Ayush, and the second is Ayurveda-based diet and lifestyle guidelines for prevention of cardiac disorders, published by Central Council for Research in Ayurvedic Sciences, Ministry of Ayush. Do collect your copy and do share this experience and knowledge with your loved ones, your families, your friends. We request you to join us for some light Indian refreshments. Thank you. Good evening. There is some kadha available in the Indian food refreshment section, which is the Ayurvedic medicine also. Please do try that. Meanwhile, may I please request Sir and Ma'am to have a photograph with the participants.